Hi, I'm Heidi Hope. I am an artist, a photographer, a teacher, and an entrepreneur who has spent the past 20 years teaching art, photography, and how to follow your passion in life. And if you want to, how to make a lot of money doing it. Okay, today's video is about calculating your business overhead, and if you offer printed products like prints, albums, frames, canvases, anything like that, calculating the cost of those goods. These are two really important numbers that you need to be very familiar with if you want your business to be profitable. Overhead and cost of goods are two of the three main numbers that you need to create profitable pricing for your art-based business. If you want to see the full calculation for how to price your art or photography, check out my last video on pricing your art and photography so that you can have a profitable business. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so these are, I'm going to show you here, the financial benchmarks that are taken from the Professional Photographers of America Studio Management Services. Now, the last time I updated this was in May 2012, but to be honest with you, these really don't change very much. I would just say probably the numbers have gone up. The percentages don't really change, but the total number has probably gone up in income since nearly 10 years ago now. What I want you to focus on is the percentages, okay? So these are the industry standard financial benchmarks recommended by PPA Studio Management Services. You can find these on ppa.com. So if you are a home-based studio, they recommend that you do at least $125,000 in sales. 25% of that goes to the cost of goods. They call it cost of sales. 30% goes to general expenses, and this is your what I call overhead, and then 45% goes to owner's compensation and net profit, and then of course you still have to pay tax out of what you take out of that 45%, right? In retail studios, the percentages are a little different. They have a higher sales volume target. The owner's compensation is less and the overhead is more because, of course, usually you're paying rent or some kind of studio fees. So you'll see the general expenses went up and the owner's compensation went down. So what does that mean? It just means that out of every dollar you sell in portraits, that you're only going to keep 35 cents, and then out of the 35 cents, you're going to have to pay taxes on that. If you have a home-based studio, you get to keep 45 cents, then pay taxes on that. So if let's just say you do $100,000 in sales, you'll be able to keep $45,000 if you're home and $35,000 if you're in a studio. Now, those numbers are an average across the whole country. They did tons of surveys, and this is on average what professional photographers actually make and the cost structure associated with running a photo studio or a home-based studio. These are very accurate I had a studio space, and I have a new studio space now, but I ran a portrait studio for over a decade, and these numbers are right on target. So ours are very similar, these percentages. And then the owner's comp, that 35%, Sean and I had to split it too. So yeah, we're doing $1 million a year, but that's really only $350,000, and then we split it between two people. And now, of course, all of our insurance and taxes and everything, everything goes through the business too, which is great. You have a lot of write-offs with overhead when you have a family business, but still saying it's not like we were taking a paycheck of $1 million a year. We had to do $1 million in sales to be able to take home the paycheck that we did. Okay, so let's talk about what all these things are. So overhead or general expenses are everything that goes into the cost of running your business. What are you spending money on that you wouldn't be spending money on if you weren't pursuing photography? When you do your overhead calculations, you can actually do two separate calculations. And this is going to come into play later. You can calculate your current overhead with the exact business that you're running right now. And then you can also do a second version where you're actually putting in projected expenses of your dream business. So what do I mean by that? If you think you're going to open a studio, estimate maybe what the rent would cost at that studio, and you can put it in. We're going to talk more about this in the long-term goals, but just know that you can calculate you can calculate a lot of these numbers in the business plan based on where you are today and where you want to go. And then our goal is to just fill in that gap. So here are all the things that can be considered overhead.
rent an office space, gas, heat, electricity, internet. I mean, all this stuff, okay? All of these are located in the PDF that is on the website right under these lessons. Okay, so in our studio, about 35% of our gross went into overhead expenses. And then each category of those expenses took the following percentages, just so you have an idea. We just pulled an accounting balance, and this was like over the course of the year, how much of every dollar in that came into the studio, 35%, 35 cents on every dollar went to our overhead. And then from our overhead, we spent about these percentages in each area. We spent about 10% on insurance expenses, 3% on legal and accounting, 6% on tax liabilities, 1% on waste removal, 10% on studio props and clothing, 10% on credit and debit card processing, 24% on studio rent and lease, 3% on telephone, 2% on meals and entertainment, 8% automobile. We have 2 cars on the business, 1% in office supplies, 2% in studio repairs, 2% in professional fees, 3% marketing and advertising. Of course, that's because I do all my own, so I never did any paid. And then 15% equipment expenses. That's because the equipment's so high on there because we were growing and we were always buying new iMacs and new cameras and new equipment for employees and all that stuff. So that is a really high number. If you have your camera and you have your equipment, obviously less is probably going to go. Now, these are not, I'm just showing you as an example what our studio did, just so that you have like a little bit of an idea of what a business model looks like. Cost of goods. Okay, cost of goods includes the cost of the product and packaging of any sale made. So this is everything that happens after the sale. Like if you made a gallery for your customer and they didn't buy anything out of it, you would still have all your overhead, right? Your cost of goods is really pretty much after the sale. It's anything that is related to the sale of that product. Like, let's say they buy a canvas. It's going to be the cost of the canvas. It's going to be the box you ship it in. It's going to be the shipping cost, right? If you didn't sell the product, there would be no cost of goods, but you would still have all your overhead, right? So it's going to vary from product to product and package to package. You should know the cost of goods of every single product and package you sell. So if you sell a collection that has 3 canvases and a frame and prints and whatever else, you need to go through and calculate everything that goes into that package so you know what the cost of goods is. So take out your price list right now if you have one, and calculate the cost of everything that goes into producing each item on your list. Cost should only be associated with the production of the product. If the item wasn't ordered, the cost would not be there. So a lot of people ask me, well, what about an associate photographer? Is that cost of goods because it goes into the session, or is that overhead? And the way that we did sales, our sales came after shooting it. So either way, we had to pay that photographer. So in that way, I made the employee expense part of my overhead. And normally employee expense is part of your overhead. The only time employee expense wouldn't be part of your overhead is if you're only paying them commission only, because then their commission's directly related to the sale. So then if their commission's whatever percentage of the sale, 30% or something, you would want to then you would consider 30% as part of the cost of goods, of any sale. All right, let's go calculate our necessary profit per session.
If you liked today's video and you want to see more free art, photography, and business lessons from me, please support the channel by liking the video, subscribing, sharing, and commenting. All of those things are ways that you can support the channel and keep my videos in the algorithm and help my message and my lessons reach more people. And it also supports me in creating all of this free content for you guys. Most of the videos that I'll be sharing in the coming weeks and months are short but powerful snippets from the online courses that I've created over the years. If you like learning with me and you'd like to sign up for a full course from beginner photography all the way to photographer rising, which is my exact blueprint for building a 7-figure photography business with multiple revenue streams, you can visit HeidiHopeLearning.com and you can register for any of these courses today. Full courses have all sorts of extras like worksheets, business plans, and bonuses that you can't get here on YouTube. Plus, all of the info is organized in one place. You can go at your own pace online and learn sequentially there. The best part is, because you're supporting my channel, if you see a course that you love on HeidiHopeLearning.com, you can use the code YouTube, YOUTUBE, all uppercase, to save 50% of any of my online courses. I'm going to put the links below all of the videos. So you just go to HeidiHopeLearning.com, use the code YouTube, save 50% on any of my online courses. So I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.